Good morning. I am Dr. Pat Sikorsky, but you can refer to me as Pat.
Okay, Pat, what is it that you do?
I am currently the director of the Criminalistics Laboratory at the Midlands Department of Criminal Investigation. Yes, that is a mouthful. I'm surprised if it's on a business card. I'm also an active member in the American Academy of Forensic Science. The best part about my job is I get to mentor students as an adjunct professor at the Midlands State University, go State, and I teach DNA analysis to both undergrad and graduate students there.
How long have you held your position as director?
Director, I've been 5 years.
And what is your educational background?
Educational background, I have 2 bachelor's degrees from Marshall. I have one in chemistry and another in leadership. And I also have 2 PhDs from Washington University. I have one in chemistry and another in biology.
And do you have any achievements in your field?
I do. I have written 28 peer-reviewed papers. The topics range from DNA testing, chemical comparisons, as well as trace analytics.
Now, Pat, how are you involved in this case?
I am involved because I was visited by the arresting officer of Chase Covington. Yes.
And when did this take place?
This took place on April 19th.
And what was the reason for this visit?
Well, at first you have an officer with a briefcase coming to visit you on April 19th.
Objection, Your Honor. Lack of foundation.
Response?
I'm just trying to lay the process of how she went through her forensic analysis, so I'm just trying to lay foundation.
And your response to that?
Your Honor, under 702, the testimony by an expert witness must be laid out through A, B, C, and D in the Midlands Rules of Evidence, and they have not provided sufficient facts and data that they relied upon, or whether they used reliable principles and methods, and what those principles and methods were.
And I'll allow you to respond.
Your Honor, I am working through the process of going through A, B, C, and D here to provide you that this is an expert witness.
Your Honor, may I respond?
Yes.
They are delving into the case without first disclosing these facts or data they relied upon and the principles and methods, and that is not allowed.
Your Honor, Rule 705, disclosing the facts or data underlying an expert's opinion. Unless the court orders otherwise, an expert may state an opinion, so I'm just trying to lay foundation.
I'll overrule the objection at this point. I think she can proceed, but feel free to renew your objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
Proceed.
Okay. Okay, so again, what was the reason for the visit?
Well, when the police officer visited on April 19th, at first I thought, something was wrong with my accounting software for my taxes, but when he was there to enlist my professional services, they had a briefcase that was recovered from Covington the day of his arrest, and they wanted me to run analysis on it.
Okay, what were your parameters for forensic analysis you were asked to conduct?
I was asked to conduct the analysis on the briefcase for fingerprints, chemical testing, and DNA analysis. Everything else that was done by the criminalists back in my labs, my minions, as I call them.
Okay, what were your findings once you performed forensic analysis on the briefcase?
We started with fingerprint analysis.
Objection, Your Honor, to lack of foundation once again.
Your response?
Okay, can I rephrase my question?
Yes, the objection is sustained and you proceed.
Can you strike any testimony that
I
was
will
elicited? Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, Pat, in your field, can you please go through the processes typically used when you do forensic analysis?
When we do forensic analysis of fingerprints, that process itself, we do what is called an ACE-V test. And as part of that ACE-V test is a 16 and 19 point sample of a fingerprint. So you're basically mapping 16 and 19 points of the grooves of a person's finger, and in this case we were matching that with those involved in the case, and as well as the FBI's data system, in order to find out if they matched those involved.
And these are the practices commonly used in your field?
They are commonly used in the field, yes.
Okay, thank you. So what were your findings once you did this proper forensic analysis?
Our findings were of the 6 prints on
Objection, Your
the,
Honor, to lack of foundation once again.
Your response to that?
May I rephrase my question?
You may rephrase the question. I'll strike her response, that brief response to the question, and you can rephrase.
Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so what were you given when you were visited by the police officer?
I was given a briefcase that was on the person of Chase Covington when he was arrested.
Okay, and what process did you go through, what were you asked to go through with this briefcase by the police officer?
I was asked to go over the fingerprints found on the case, all 6 of them. I was asked to go through hairs that were found inside the case.
Objection, Your Honor, to lack of foundation once again. May I be heard?
No, at this point, I'll let her proceed. You can renew the objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
Just go on.
Okay, so continue with the findings.
I was asked to analyze the 6 sets of fingerprints on the case. I was asked to do an analysis on 5 hairs found inside the case, as well as a stain on the case.
Okay, and with your analysis on those things in the briefcase and on the briefcase, what were your findings?
Starting with the fingerprints, I did the test I just outlined for you guys, and what was found is all of the prints matched that of Bancroft with the exception of one on the handle that was Covington's.
Okay, and then you mentioned a hair. What was found with that hair that you found in the briefcase?
Yes, there was 5 12-inch long brown hairs that were found inside the briefcase. The analysis that we did found that the hairs matched that of Bancroft, and we did both a standard hair analysis visual test as well as a mitochondrial DNA test on the hair that corroborated with that. Yes.
Okay, and what were the findings from your hair analysis?
That they belonged to Avery Bancroft.
Okay, thank you. And what was the next test that you went through in the briefcase?
After that, we moved on to DNA analysis, and actually to make sure I'm saying this correctly, we actually did fingerprints and then DNA analysis before we did a hair analysis. But when we did a DNA analysis, that is when we used what is called a PRC, and in this case, when we ran that PRC, it was found that the DNA that was found on this briefcase matched that of Avery Bancroft within with a probability of 1 in 22 billion that it was not Avery Bancroft. So we like our odds, I guess, at the lab.
Okay, so what was the last test you performed on the briefcase then for us?
And the last test that we performed was a chemical comparison test. There was a stain found inside the briefcase, and we run a what is called a GCMS test on that stain, which basically creates a fingerprint for the stain. And when we ran that fingerprint through various other chemicals and items collected in the investigation, it matched that of a perfume that was found that belonged to Avery Bancroft. Don't ask me to pronounce the name of the perfume, though it was French, and it's other than a Lady Marmalade song, I don't get into French very much. So.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to the fingerprints analysis you talked about. So in this test, the 16 and 19 point analysis concluded that both Avery Bancroft and Chase Covington's prints were on the briefcase.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. And all of the methods used that you mentioned are used in your field, in your professional field.
That's correct.
Objection to lack of foundation, Your Honor. May I be heard?
Response?
I was just reiterating that she used the proper methods in her field to prove that she's an expert witness.
Okay, and your response?
To be clear, Your Honor, I'm objecting to this whole line of questioning as a lack of foundation. They did not properly enter this person as an expert because they missed the rules that you must do under 702 to enter a witness as an expert. Therefore, all of this is lack of foundation.
What are those?
It is the expert's scientific, technical, or specialized knowledge, which they did give with the education, that the testimony was based on sufficient facts and data. They did not state that. The testimony was the product of reliable principles and methods, which they did not also state. And they did not also state that the reliable principles and methods were applied reliably to the facts and data of today's case.
Your response?
May I prove that she is an expert witness through the ones that I seem to be lacking?
No, responder hit specifically to his statement.
Well, I've gone through, I have shown the methods that she used in her field. She is a professional. She used them as they are in her field. She didn't change them from the way they are used in her field. She used them correctly, so.
Your Honor,
And the response-
may be heard. Under 702, you must correctly enter a witness as an expert witness, and they did not do that. Therefore, all of this line of questioning was a lack of foundation.
Any response?
I believe that I have the sufficient amount of evidence to prove that she is an expert witness.
I'll overrule the objection.
Yes, sir.
Okay, back to where we were. So, in closing, the briefcase was on the person of Chase Covington during his or her arrest.
That is what I was told by the arresting officer when they gave me the case, yes.
And whose fingerprints were on the briefcase?
Both Bancroft's and Covington's.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination?
Yes, sir.